Aloha and good morning, everyone. Sorry for the background noise. The transmission is coming through while I'm driving in to the transportation depot, driving into base. And I'm like, all right, I just have to share this while the words are coming. So in my Lionsgate video, I alluded to how we learn in the New Earth frequency, or how we learn information in 5D, and how it is very different from the linear intellectual learning that we did as children in school, right? Where you're kind of beaten over the head, memorizing facts, and then repeating them like a parrot, right? And the words that came to describe this process, this will be easier for any of us out there that are kinesthetic learners already. Meaning that in order to learn something, you had to do it physically, right? A lot of us were given instructions and it just goes in one ear and out the other, and I just hear like the Charlie Brown adult voices, like wah, 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 I'm like, huh? So it's a combination of kinesthetic and holographic, meaning that you're absorbing the information, you're physically embodying the information through doing, you're building the synaptic connections within the neurology through different means, like mnemonic devices are one way, associations with the data. And what I'm talking about when I mean learning, I'm talking about learning new skills that are part of the human world. When you're operating outside of the human world, you're in more of, we could say, the divine human world, the fifth dimensional frequency. So you're essentially operating more out of a spatial brain, a right intuitive brain, instead of the left linear calculator brain. And when you have more of a holographic brain, when you're operating out of both of those, you have this higher lobe that comes on. So if you imagine the corpus callosum, the golden bridge, it's a little bridge at the top of the hemispheres that unites both hemispheres of the brain, right? So you are finding ways through the body to absorb the information. It could be even sleeping with your training materials, sleeping with the books in your proximity. And the kinesthetic route is going to be unique to you and what works for you to build those connections through the embodiment. Storytelling, sometimes even making it poetic, using symbolic imagery. It's a very unique way of learning. And then when I talk about the holographic way, and I'm sorry, it's getting louder because I'm on the freeway now. When I talk about the holographic style of learning, what I mean is you're also inserting yourself into a holographic reality of whatever it is that you are learning. So many of us are entrepreneurs or creatives, and so we have to learn technology, perhaps, is one of those examples, and it's like a whole new world, and you're like, oh my God, this is kind of overwhelming. I don't have, the basic understanding of this system. So then you insert yourself and you imagine. So this is where the Imagineering comes in, your visualization process comes in to create the holographic reality, to insert yourself into it and see yourself doing it. So here's an example. Part of my pre-trip that I have to learn as a bus driver in order to get my commercial driver's license is we have to have some mechanical knowledge. I am not a mechanic. I'm not an automobile mechanic. But what assists me to understand all of the different processes of what I have to know and what I have to inspect for safety on my pre-trip every morning. And this is very important, right? Because we're driving precious cargo. We're, carting around souls. So what I noticed was when I'm learning this material and these different scenarios, safety scenarios, potential emergency scenarios, or just understanding how brake systems work and things like that, and whole new ways of, because we use air brakes, it's like a whole different thing, air compressor, like air compressor, all of this, like air pressure, all this stuff. It's like, oh my God. So what I found when I was studying the material is imagining, learning about the parts, looking at them, imagining their function, and seeing it happening. And then I was able to actually learn, okay, so this is doing this is doing this, and the end result is such and such, right? A big one, here's a good example. And the way that this came through, this transmission came through for me to share with you all, was I was actually assisting some of my colleagues in class. You know, we're all studying together. And I was observing that the men in the class, the material that was challenging for them was what was easier for me, and vice versa. So for them, the mechanical material was easier. For me, the kind of relational material was easier. And I could see, well, a lot of it has to do with brain mapping and the difference between female consciousness orientation and male consciousness orientation, and kind of like what we're predisposed, you know, to have certain skill sets in, right? But when we were studying for our learner's permit, my male colleagues were telling me, like, oh my gosh, it's just not registering, it's just not clicking. And so I would tell them, well, imagine yourself in the situation rather than trying to just memorize a script, right? Or memorize words that kind of feel useless. There's no connection. And there's that kinesthetic also. I said, if you imagine yourself in the situation and you see the road, you see the lanes of the road, then you have your answer in that scenario of what would be the solution. So the example here is putting out red reflective safety triangles. If any of y'all have ever done interstate traveling, you're going on your sacred grid work pilgrimages, and you see red reflective triangles out on the highway or on the street somewhere with a bus or a semi, you have to know where to put those triangles to warn people that are approaching, you know, approaching traffic, right? And you could have like 6 different scenarios depending on how the roads are set up, and you have to know how to place your triangles. So I shared with my colleagues, I said, imagine yourself on that road, imagine the situation, you're in the bus, the traffic is coming, you see the directions that it's coming from, and then you know where to put your triangles. And they were like, oh, so that's what I mean by the holographic imaginal process, imagining yourself in the situation. A lot of the times too, when you're imagining yourself in the situation, when you're putting yourself into that holographic circumstance, information will come. So for instance, if you're trying to build a website or you're learning something like that, like technology, if you imagine yourself doing the process, the pieces will start to come. So it's a different kind of data retrieval. I hope this is making sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but then it isn't, you know? Please, you know, put questions in the comments if this is like weird or you need more examples. But hopefully this can assist, because learning is a completely different process when you have a 5th dimensional operating system. You know, you're absorbing, you're more spatial and intuitive. But then when you're in human systems and you have to memorize data or facts, it's kind of like, my brain doesn't really work like that anymore. You use the higher dimensional tools, you know, and essentially imprint them into the matrix system of the system that you're in. So thank you for joining me today. I will be back. I wanted this to be a video where I could sit and be giggling with you all, and it just hasn't happened. So I'm just getting the information out any way that I can. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'm wishing you all an amazing day, amazing week with this eclipse energy. There's a lot going on, and I will be back with more. So sending you all so much love, and we'll talk soon. All right, aloha.